What's up, Group Coach Nation? So I got Dr. Laura Sicola with me today, and we're talking about positioning yourself as a thought leader. Now, what's fun about this is Laura and I have known each other for a while on Zoom. She actually been in our program. Like, Laura's freaking amazing. You're a lover. But she's like, I got to see her at Podfest recently. Was it like in Orlando? Yes, Laura. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so
Yep.
fun to see. It's so fun to see Zoom friends
Yes.
in real life. It's so trippy. Like,
Yes. And that's when you go, oh, wow, you're short. Or
no, right? It's just so fun to see. Like, this is a real person. Like, what the heck?
right.
And it was so weird because I heard you like you said, "Hey, Chris," or something like that, and I was like, "You're behind me." I was like, "That
I know
that
that voice.
voice, like, who is this?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, Laura." Anyway, good to have
And
you
there
here.
was
So,
somebody else from our cohort too that in that the same time, about 20 minutes later, I walked around the corner. I was like, I know that guy's voice.
yeah,
And
look
it was,
at
yeah,
that.
it's really funny just to bump into people randomly.
Cool people. All right, so
Yes.
here's what we're doing. If you're watching live, if you're catching this up later, either way you want to go, if you're live, you can ask your questions in the comment section below, wherever you're watching this. And if you're catching the replay or the podcast or whatever, ask your questions, tag Laura or myself, and we'll point in the right direction. Super simple. We're here to actually help. So we interview people on the Group Coach Nation podcast who actually have group coaching programs or masterminds. Laura is that person. We also interview people who can help you in specific ways. Laura is that person. So Laura is an expert at communication and becoming a thought leader. She's really, really amazing, like her PhDs and all that stuff. So becoming a thought leader, those are what we're talking about today, because Laura's really good at positioning and figuring out how are you going to make yourself get seen over the noise? Because, oh my gosh, just the fact that you're listening and watching this right now is a miracle, because there's so many other options out there, and you got to position yourself in a way that will get you noticed. But first, Laura, tell us about your group coaching program. Like, give us a little, like, why did you choose to go down the group coaching path? Um, like, how did you decide how long, how many weeks it would be? Like, you got stuff, like, people, go ahead and crack the code here. So tell us about your program first, the nuts and bolts of it, and then we'll talk about positioning.
Yep, sounds great. So I am an executive coach by background. You mentioned the PhD in as far as academics and things, but working with executives and business owners on their communication skills, more and more I'm finding that whether they're small business owners or senior execs in larger companies or anywhere in between, people don't just want to be known for their role, their title in the company. They want their brand to get out there. They have a passion, they've got expertise, they want to share, they want to help, they want to guide others. So whether it's by being on more podcasts or being on panels, being invited to talk at lunch and learns in the employee resource groups at their companies, the women's group, the veterans group, the LGBTQ, wherever it is, they want to speak, but they have no idea where to begin. They justify doing nothing because they think to themselves, well, I'm just this. Who am I to get out there? And that's what I'm realizing. Okay, there's a need to help people beyond just the executive coaching and doing those kinds of jobs better. Let me help people establish their own brand. If this is the call, you identify a need. I've always said, if you hear, regardless of what you're trying to sell, if you hear people say, I want to buy this, unless you're an idiot, you figure out a way to sell it to them. Hence, we have a group coaching program. And that's where Chris and I connected. And we figured out that this is a great way to build it. And, typically coaching engagements for me are one-on-one, and those are 6 to 12 months. Nobody's got that kind of time to do something that's frankly this simple. So instead, let's just get results fast. And I straw polled a bunch of my clients at different levels. And it's like, well, if we did an intensive, like a weekly, and the goal was just to figure out how to get on stuff, how to get on microphone stages and screens. If I could do that in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, what would you want? And the just seemed to be, well, it seemed like 6 weeks is kind of too short to get results, but I don't really want to have to commit to anything for like 10 or 12 weeks. And so it just seemed like 8 felt right. And I went, all right, we'll get stuff done in 8 weeks. That's what can I do in 8 weeks? And let's make it happen.
Okay, I love that. You've mentioned several like really key tips that are really great. Thank you, Laura, for like breaking this down for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in reverse order. You just said number of weeks. People often ask, like you just said, how many weeks should my program be? I don't freaking know. There's a magic number between you and your audience that matters. If you know I can help people in 4 weeks, then don't make them wait a year, like Laura just said. But if they don't believe that they can actually get results in 4 weeks, then you have to you have to give them something they can believe they can accomplish. And so maybe 8 weeks or 12 weeks is the right number, but you want to then wow the socks off of them and be like, oh my gosh, it's only been 4 weeks and I'm so far along. So great job, Laura, on that. Also, you just cracked the code on how'd you decide what you're going to do in your group coaching program, mastermind. It's what people were asking you about.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, all of us have people leaning in and asking about something. What's the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, make an offer, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that you're like, so you put people in this group, 8 weeks long, and then everybody always asks Laura, like, okay, do I need all my curriculum? Do I have to have like ebooks? Do I need all my slides ready before I sell the first person? Like, what'd you do? Did you just go for it and stay a week or two ahead of them, or were you like super prepared?
Yes, and so I wouldn't say I had the curriculum all done. What I had was an outline, because on the website in the first place, on the landing page, you have to be able to say, what are we going to cover? And so what I have been, and I've made flyers for live speaking engagements I've done where I could promote it as well as on the landing page. But so just as a quick show, you can sort of see it here, but it's my little sheet on the 8 keys to establishing your brand as a go-to thought leader. So it's like keys 1 through 8, nice, easy handout, QR code on the bottom to go to the webinar, et cetera.
By the way, is that what people can get on your URL too, right here?
This is the handout where if you go to the URL, then you can download this page.
Cool. So by the way, just if you're listening in, that's 8, the number 8 keys.
Yes.
8 KEYS at laurasicola.com. It's LAURASICOLA.com. If you're watching, there it is on the screen, and we'll put the link and stuff below. So anyway, the things she's holding up, you can get at that website. Yeah, keep going, Laura. Sorry.
No, not at all. So the idea was that here are the 8 key topics that I've been speaking professionally for 15, 20 years, something along those lines. And so I'm telling them that I've taken everything I've learned about how to get not just invited, but invited back and referred and build my brand as a go-to thought leader. I take everything I learned in the last 15 to 20 years and smash it into 8 keys. And they're all DIY. And so if you download it, you get the 8 keys. You can follow them all very easily. There's a webinar for an hour if you want me to talk you through them a little bit more in depth, give a few more details. But then, of course, if you don't want to DIY, you want someone to hold your hand through it. You want someone to pace you through it. You want someone to make you actually finish, as opposed to doing what I do when I join half these courses, which is show up, learn a lot, and then not execute or not finish stuff. I take that risk out of it through the way that I designed the course. And so theoretically, it was supposed to be 1 key per week. And recognizing as we were going through it, where people were needing more help, where, 1 week, X number of people weren't able to show up. And so I figured, well, let's just redo it the next week and make sure that they get part 2 before they move into part 3. Things adjusted. So it didn't exactly follow the technically the pace, but nobody seemed to care about that. And, we meet people where they are. So that was kind of where we went with it.
I love that. Okay. I love that you were flexible enough to do that. And I think all you group coach nationers out there, like, give yourself some space and some flexibility, like Laura's just talking about, to like get people in your program and just take them where they need to go. Because I don't know about you, Laura, but every time we start a new cohort or we let a new client in a group that's already running or whatever it is, I'm always like looking for what is that place that they're starting at? Where are they right now? And it's never on program. It's always a little bit different. And you got to be willing to adjust and say, you signed up for our program. We're committed to helping you. I love that you did that. Yeah.
I think it also depends on the nature of the program that you're running, right? That there's, if it was really committed, like in order to get to week 8, you can't progress without doing 6 and 7 first. And it's just a matter of, if you miss, okay, you miss, there's a recording. You can go back and watch the recording of it later on at your own time. And so be it. Versus part of the value prop that I had offered was that, again, taking away the risk of yet another program that I would show up for, learn a lot on the call, and then not do the homework per se, because there was just, I never made the time to, or found it, or call it whatever verb you like, to get the stuff done on my own. I argued that the structure of my program was 1 2-hour a week call that was going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for each session, a third seminar, a third lab, and a third study hall. So we were going to do all the work together on the call. All you had to do is show up, and the topic for the day, you would leave with a workable draft of the asset, and then you're good to go. So the value proposition was that if you show up and do the work, or at least watch the recording and do the work while you're watching it, not just listening while you're driving or something, that by the end of the 8 weeks, you will have your first speaking engagement on the books, or I will stick with you until you do.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, Laura, I've got this. Let me just say this, folks, Group Code Nation, everybody's on this show. Everybody has a landing page. Everybody has something you should go see. Like, I get it. Do this stuff. Like, we're not BSing you. I'm on your landing page right now, Laura. Let me just go ahead and put that back on the screen real quick. It's super straightforward. Like, okay, so here's the thing. If anybody trying to figure out one of two things, if you want to see, okay, I see what Laura's explaining and how she built out her program, and you want to see an example of what that looks like, there's your landing page right there, 8keys.laurasicola.com. Again, it's 8 with the number 8, and her last name is Sicola, laurasicola.com. So go check out what she's doing there as an example of like, oh, I see how Laura is building this and positioning it. But honestly, like when I'm just reading through these 8 keys right now, Laura, I'm like, oh, dang, like we're not doing some of these. And the fact that your program not only says, here's a video that goes along with that to help me figure it out on my own, but if I'm struggling, which we all do, like you'll help us get through it on a week by week basis. And actually, that's a really good offer. That's a really good offer. Great. I think another really cool offer piece you got in there is if you're not through it by the end of 8 weeks, you'll stick with them until they get it done. That's legit cool. Like and
that's the caveat for that, of course, is, but you got to show up. You can't register, pay the money, and then not show up to anything and say, Laura, I didn't get my results. I want you to coach me privately for the rest of my life. No, that's not how it works. And you have to have the guarantee asterisk, meaning like you need to have skin in the game too. You uphold your end of the bargain, I'll uphold my end of the bargain. There have to be responsible and respectable boundaries that both people need to commit to.
Hey, we're all grown-ups. I get that.
Yes.
Okay. So let's turn the page a little bit here.
Okay.
That's why I love interviewing experts like you. I don't just want to hear about your program and how it runs, but I want to hear about your expertise. So positioning ourselves like as the thought leader in a market, there is so much noise. Like, how do we, I guess just how do we get started? Because people are in all different, I'm pretty established. So it's pretty easy to find me, but I always think I'm not positioned well enough as a thought leader because there's always somebody else who's creating more noise. So no matter where we are in the continuum, just starting out, pretty established, expert, whatever, there's always like, how do I figure out that next step? How do we figure out what is next to do when it comes to increasing our visibility as a thought leader?
I think the first step really is figuring out what you want your thought leadership, what is defining your brand. When you think about a brand, what does that mean? And most people don't think about themselves as a brand. And until they can articulate that cleanly in one sentence, there's who are you going to be to whom and why? Why is that important? And so my space is all about leadership, communication, and influence. So if you're looking to improve those assets for yourself, that's why you would come to me. I'm an executive coach, but I'm not going to help you make any business decisions. I help you get the buy-in you need to get results. So that's why people would come. So trying to understand, who you want to help, what you want your reputation to be, and why, get that out in one sentence. But it also needs to be things like, okay, you need access. You can't just throw it out to the world. Getting on anybody's podcast to start, you need to be discoverable. And it's not about waiting until you're perfect to try to land some massive speaking engagement on a world stage. Get on somebody's podcast who's only had 3 episodes so far and is dying for another guest, because you can practice. your
Mhm.
storytelling. You can practice giving answers that aren't rambling and winding and building the plane mid-flight and thinking aloud. Get your stories, get your advice, get your 3 points on how to do X, or the 3 reasons why. People love numbers, people love nuggets, people love easy takeaways. You need to think about what those pieces are going to be first. It's one of my keys that I talk about is establishing your tweetable and repeatables, which is you need your sound bites. What are the key topics, the key deliverables, or pieces of advice that you're going to find ways to work in to just about every conversation? Maybe not all of them every time, but at least 1 or 2 of them. And a tweetable and repeatable is something that's easy to understand, easy to remember, and easy to repeat. Figure
Mm.
those out. So having a tweetable and repeatable is one of my tweetable and repeatables. I coined that phrase, and the fact that it's a 3-point thing, easy, that is exactly modeling what it does. It's easy to
What do
understand, it's easy to remember, and it's easy to repeat. I want people to have that stuck in their head and go and evangelize that for themselves. That
what
builds my
are you
brand.
gonna say now that it's X?
Now, it doesn't matter because
Is
I've
it still
talked to a
tweets?
million.
Is it still tweets on X?
It is. And see, that's the funny thing. I was just where we met at PodFest a couple of weeks ago. I was on stage in front of however many hundred people. And I got to this point talking about tweetables and repeatables. And I paused and I asked the whole audience, does anybody know, like, now that Twitter is X, what are tweets? Do we still tweet? And they all just stared at me and kind of shrugged. I'm like, you are the most useless audience I've ever spoken to.
Come on, yeah, you're a bunch of communicators. Yeah.
They all burst out laughing. But so
Maybe it's
having,
Xables and unforgettables. That doesn't
I
even
think
rhyme
people,
good
yeah,
enough.
right. There's irony in there, but it still is. People still say tweet. So,
Yeah,
but in the principle, still we know what it means.
it
So,
does. Yeah.
what are yours? What are your key little mic drop moments? Your key things that the host is going to be able to pull out and make a great little clip from for 30 seconds, or an Instagram post, something. Have those ready, but just get out there as often as possible. So, and there's um podcast directories where you can find shows to apply to. You fill out your own profile so hosts can find you easily. There's so
Mhm.
many ways to get out there, but just do it. Don't wait until you're perfect. Don't wait until you're ready. Build the plane mid-flight. It should always be iterative. You should always be honing who you can offer what to. And the beauty is that once people find you, they may say, you know what? I heard her here, but I think my people who are very different would also find this stuff valuable. And just
Yep.
as a quick example, I mentioned executive coaching is my space, but I got invited about 2 weeks ago. I was on a podcast called The Gamer's Guide to Productivity. And it was the target audience is 20 something men who like playing video games.
That's awesome.
Yes, exactly. Like, who would have thought I would never have thought to go to to that avatar. That's my son. Who would have thought he and his friends would want to hear me talk at 9 o'clock at
Your
night on a
mom is
live
so
stream when they're
cool.
trying to
Yeah.
destroy the universe? So, but the host said, my guys who by day are probably your IT department in whatever your day job is, they need to develop this aspect of their professional selves too, if they want to get ahead in their careers. So talk to them. I went, awesome. I'm adding value to them too. So, this is the whole point. You have to be discoverable. You have to get your stuff out there. You'll just keep getting better as you go. I've monologued way too long for you on this, Chris, but hopefully
This
you
is
can
so good.
extract a bunch of stuff.
This is so good. I love that you started all of that, because all of this is built on the first thing you said, which is you got to know what it is you want to be a thought leader about and who you're going to be a thought leader for. And that is like so hard. I was talking to a friend of mine who is really high end into masterminds, and he's creating a new mastermind right now. So he's going to have 20 people in there. And I mean, this guy speaks at all the big stages, like all the big mastermind names.
Yeah.
I'm not a name dropper. He's on all of them. So anyway, he's building this thing out, another version of what he's doing. And we were like texting back and forth the other day about like how much of a struggle it is to figure out, even at his level, like, okay, I have this new thing I'm developing, but who is it specifically for? Like he's even narrowing down more and more and more and more so he
Yeah.
can be seen as the thought leader for that hyper specific group
Yes.
of people. 20 people in a room,
Yes.
and that is scary. Honestly, a lot of us are freaked out because we're like, I'm going to turn off half the world. I sure hope you turn off more than that. because you can't
Yes.
help 4 billion people anyway, right?
No, right. And so the balance between the two, and that's a really important point of distinction, is who are you offering your program to? Because a group coaching program, you can't offer that to 1,000 people at once. I mean, you could do other kinds of models. That's a different issue. But that, yes, you want to be hyper focused and in establishing your brand. But to be discoverable, to build that brand means people have to know who you are. To become known, the go-to thought leader means anybody else out there who's interested in that topic can find you. They've heard of you. You've got a reputation. You've got traction out there. And that's why you want to start with being available, because podcasts they're fabulous, but they're low-hanging fruit just because they're easy to get on. There's many of them, and you can continue to practice. And higher level speaking stages and microphones, et cetera, you can throw your hat in the ring, but then they want to vet you. You can't be an unknown entity and be given your first chance on some big stage. So the organizers are going to say, well, let me Google this guy and see what he's done. Where has she been? Who else has she spoken to? And if somebody important received her, all right, that's social credibility. And let me listen to a little bit and see if she's any good. See if I think she's any good. So the more assets, the more examples you have of stuff you've done, the more everybody else feels safe inviting you to talk to their people, because they've already vetted you and somebody else has too. You need the social proof.
Yeah. And you show up ready. You show up with your market dialed in. You show up with I mean, Laura, talking to you is such a thrill because you're a fantastic guest on any stage. You're amazing because you're extremely good at what you do, but that's only because you did a whole bunch. And I love your point of just get out there and start doing it. Yeah.
Yep.
Get
Very
through
much
the rough stages. We still have, I don't know about you, Laura, but I have every podcast I think I've ever recorded still out there. And I've frequently thought about taking them offline because they're so embarrassing. But somebody else I talked to, I think I was in a mastermind up in Boise, Idaho, and the leader of that mastermind was like, don't take them off. People need to go back and see the journey. Leave them there, be real. And it's true.
Yep. And there's content value in them. I mean, it may not have been the most polished. I think back to my first interview on my podcast on Speaking to Influence. And I'm not so proud of the interviewer that I was 4 years ago. Today is auspicious for us in that this morning our 200th episode dropped. So we're really excited. Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was quite the
200
milestone.
episodes.
Yes.
That's
200.
legit.
Yeah, it was solid. I found out, according to, is it Listen Notes, which is like the Nielsen ratings of podcasts, that we're in the top 1%. Apple Business Management podcasts were like number 60 or something along those lines, which is crazy because there's literally over 3.3 million podcasts available in the world. And I don't mean episodes, I mean shows. So, I mean, most of them don't get past episode 10, but nevertheless, it's a lot. So we're really honored to be in that top 1%.
Say this proves you're good at positioning as a thought leader. Well done, Laura. Truly.
Thank you.
You're drinking your own Kool-Aid. I respect that.
We have to, we have to model it. If we don't practice what we preach, if we're not evidence of the magic, so to speak, then who on earth? Talk about the worst credibility destroyer on the planet is not being able to demonstrate the effectiveness of your own methods.
Yeah, seriously. That's great. Nice work. Okay. So leave us with just a last thought or two, Laura. If other than obviously going to, I'll put up on the screen again, 8keys.laurasicola.com, other than going there to see the 8 keys of actually getting that positioning right, becoming a thought leader. Next to that, what are you going to say? Tell us, we're all experts, speakers, coaches, authors, everybody here. We got a voice, we got a thing. A lot of us are pretty sure about who we talk to and what we know we're doing. What's the big golden ticket here of just guys, write this down on a sticky note. And when you get done listening to this, take 30 minutes a day and do this.
Ask for referrals. You have to ask. And it's not just cold calling random people. Book an interview from an interview. So for my show, at the end of every recording, when I'm done with the episode, and I take my guests in part because of who they are and what I'm trying to do. I have an extremely structured and regimented process from how to book the call through the debrief call that we're going to do after the episode drops. And there's a lot of stages in between. There's a business development reason for that, but nonetheless, it is Um, I need my senior executive guests who are on the show to be so impressed with their experience, white glove through it from beginning to end, that I can say to them afterwards, who do you know? Who are two amazing people I need to meet, and that you can introduce me to? And nobody says, you know what, I'm not comfortable doing that. Everybody turns around and says, here's two other senior executives from two other corporations who, under any other circumstance, Laura would have no interest, reason, or desire to talk to you because they don't know you from Eve. But I'm going to introduce you to them because I think you should meet them. They would be good on your show and they would appreciate the quality of the experience that they have. So I have to ask them for the referral before I let them off the phone and say this. Otherwise, what am I going to do? Go back to, I mean, and I have gone to LinkedIn and cold messaged and gotten a surprising number of yeses, but nevertheless, so much easier when they vet them for me and then just do the warm handoff. And it's a yes before you even start. You have to ask for the referrals. And on other shows as well, talking to hosts and saying, hey, who do you want to meet? Who can I introduce you to? Offer the connection, offer to keep your eyes open, your ears open for somebody else. And then if they don't, and 90% of them will reciprocate the offer. So then, Laura, how can I support you? Who would you like me to introduce you to? And if they don't, ask, who are two awesome people I just need to meet? That's my question.
This is gold. Okay, like all you folks out there in Group Coach Nation, like seriously, if you just took the steps that she just laid out on not just referrals, but on the other things about branding and positioning and figuring these things out, if you just start doing what Laura just said, like I'm telling you, she's not BSing you. That's actually the stuff that really works. It's actually the stuff that we all do. And you know, here's one secret, and I think people miss this. You gotta dig the well before you're thirsty. If you want a huge jump up in your business, wherever that is now to wherever you need to be, right now, today, you're late. Like you are. If you want it to start a month from now, get to work. If you want it to be amazingly different a year from now, get to work today. Like, do the work today. Okay, so on that note, y'all can go to groupcoachnation.com if you're trying to figure out how to build a coaching business, like scalable coaching business. That's what this show is about. I get it. But if you're figuring out positioning and how to be the thought leader, and that's a big thing that you can't crack the code on right now, you're just not sure you're doing it right, please go see Laura because she has so much more in video and everything else for you there. I think she's going to make you trade your email address for a lot of education. And then you'll probably get some emails that aren't crappy, that are actually helpful. So there you go. Okay.
And I'll tell you what, Chris, since we're live streaming this, if I can share one more link. The tomorrow, March 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern, I am doing another one of these live webinars. If anybody wants to join live, so I can put, let's see, I'll put it
here in the chat. Yeah, I got you.
Right. Do you want to add that on so anybody can just go and register there? It's just it's a live Zoom at 2:00.
Yes.
You'll get a copy of the 8 keys. Yep.
Yeah. What I'm going to do, Laura, is I'm going to drop this link in the live posts, and I think I can do it. Hang on. I think I got you. Everybody watching live, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop this thing in the chat over here on the side, not the private chat, but the real chat. Here it comes. Comment. Yeah. That right there is the link. There it is. That right there is the link. It's a Zoom link, and it's going to let you go to the sign up for the Zoom webinar. It's not on screen, by the way, right now because like this super long web Zoom thing.
Yeah, I didn't make it a short, like pretty little bit.ly something.
And from live here, by the way, I can drop that. It's in the Group Coach Nation Facebook page and Facebook stuff. It's also on our YouTube channel, Group Coach Nation. It's in the comments right below if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you want to go over to the Group Coach Nation YouTube channel, it'll be right there. It's live right now.
Perfect.
Laura, thank you. Thank you for giving so much. So tomorrow, when you have that webinar, and I know you do those periodically, which if you miss tomorrow's, go to the landing page. We've already mentioned the 8keys.laurasicola.com, and you can register for another one. If she has something going on, you'll find it there. What do you walk us through on that in those calls? Like, what's the goal of those calls?
To help you understand all 8 keys. I know I just gave a few examples here, but we'll talk through how they all work. I will give you at the end an explanation of how the course works. If you decide that while the 8 keys are DIY, if you know that you're not going to do them on your own, if you're just kind of honest with yourself and you recognize you're, well, frankly, like me, and very good at registering for stuff and then not finishing, but you want someone to hold you accountable. You want the community like Chris provides for Group Coach Nation, which is amazing to have that group to just bounce stuff off of. The mastermind work, the 8 brains are so much better than, well, mine. It's just trying to work through my own stuff. It's great. So if you're looking for that accountability group, for that community of sorts, and for the structure, the feedback, all that kind of stuff, so that you get stuff done, then I'll show you how to do that as well. But that's at the end, and we'll walk you through all 8 keys so that you understand exactly how to build them all for you, how to open those 8 doors.
Amazing. Laura, thank you for the education.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chris. It's a great platform, and it's an amazing program. Anybody out there who's even contemplating coaching or one-on-one or something of any sort, I don't care what level it is, if you're a florist or if you're, financial advisor or whatever it happens to be, you need to do the group. You need to join Chris's program. You need to take a look at it, because you're just going to realize all the stupid things you would have done if you didn't. So it's so much more efficient. And he's got, the difference between my group program, I've been coaching for 15 years. The group is much newer. So I'm still working out the kinks, the format, whatever else. Chris is a masterclass in just he models exactly what he teaches. And you sit there and you look at like all the worksheets that are perfectly built out and the online platform. And I'm going, I don't have that. Nope, not there. The assets are there, but nope, not pretty yet. We'll figure it out, and there's hacks, and it's all evolution. And, he's done it a million times. So that's why it's all there and worked out. And Olivia, his partner, is amazing in the program. So it's just great, and just do it.
Yay. Wow, that's really nice. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah,
and if you are a florist and want to start a group coaching program, I so want to talk to you, because I've never worked with florists. All right. Everybody, go do the freaking work. We say this all the time: do work, get results. Just do the right work. Neither Laura nor I are telling you to go create a hustle lifestyle and work 80 hours a week. We're just telling you, do the right things, move the needle, and get what you're actually trying to build. You became an entrepreneur or an expert or whatever for a reason. Go do the work to get that and nothing else. Okay. Y'all are awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day. Can't wait to talk again soon. Bye, guys. Thank you, Laura.
Bye-bye.